So, Josh, for those small business owners out there who pulling in, say, under $5 million a year in revenue, can you tell us about one business in particular that sticks out that benefited from this credit, this so-called glorified grant?
I mean, I could think of dozens, right? Because we've done close to 10, we've a little over 10,000 businesses. But one that comes to mind a lot is because she was one of our first customers. And it's mostly because I've purchased meals from her. She does, you can get keto meals, you get macro meals, but it's all made for you, right? And she's already received her money from the IRS, which she got about a little over $32,000. And that meant a ton to her because during the pandemic, there was certain clients that they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford it because, they lost their jobs or they had to kind of pinch pennies through the pandemic because, whatever their circumstance was. And so what does that do to her? That hurts her business because now she has all this food that she's planning on for, and then now people aren't purchasing it. And she's, managed her business, especially in 2019, on this much staff where she had to let go in order to just get through the pandemic. And there was certain employees that she was paying out of her own pocket in order just for them to stay around and, because they're such good employees.
Right.
Then when I came around, number one, just like, when the program was first started, this is too good to be true. But she's like, hey, I trust you, but I'm going to opt for, I'm not going to pay up front. I'm going to pay on the back. And so she's since received her money and she has told 30 different people about us,
Wow.
And so, but that's one of my favorite stories because I've also helped, a private school. I've helped some churches get millions of dollars. And that $32,000 one means a lot to me because that was a hard impact. She was by herself. She had a couple of employees, and we did a big service for her.
Oh, that's beautiful. And how did you feel? I mean, like you said, you can get all this money for all these schools and everything like that, but here you're dealing with somebody, just an ordinary person just wakes up every day, plays by the rules, tries to make her life better, life of her family and her community better. I mean, you are a part of that.
Yeah. I mean, what comes to mind when you say that is I watched Shark Tank a couple of weeks ago, and Mark Cuban talked about, he was actually in an argument with Mr. Wonderful. And part of that argument was like, hey, you're taking away some people's dreams. He goes, I'm just being honest with them. That's what Mr. Wonderful is saying. And Mark Cuban said, I would rather be a business owner. This is him. I know we don't all have this mindset, but I'd rather be a business owner working 100 hours a week, making $50,000 a year versus an employee at 40 hours a week at $100,000 a year.
Wow.
And that hit me because, there's certain people, and I think she's one of them, that was their passion. They really wanted, it's like the American dream used to be to own your own home. My opinion is I think to own your own business because that's tough. Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of fear with that. There's a lot of, risk. And for her, she was doing very well. And then what happened? Pandemic happened. And then everything stopped for her, for months. And then things picked back up, but it wasn't the same, and so that was her income. So anyways, I just love telling her story because, I still buy meals from her to this day, and I always will. And now she, is telling everyone if they're a business owner all about what we do.
What about a medium-sized business? So say revenues from $5 million to $20 million. Do you have a particular story there that where you helped a business in that category?
Yeah, what comes to mind is a gentleman that has 8 restaurants, Italian restaurants, mostly pizza, pasta. They were affected. Now, when the delivery started happening, they weren't adapt to do that. They didn't have a drive-through. It was a restaurant, and they didn't do takeout when they were doing restaurant before, just pizza. And but they noticed they needed to change. It took about a month or two, about late 2020, to make that transition. They have 60 plus employees. And when we got a hold of them, they got little under $500,000 in total, and it changed the way they've been thinking. Because in 21 they actually started making some revenue. when I first talked to them, they had to wait 6 or 8 months to receive the check. But now what they're doing is they're adding another location with the money they received from the employee retention credit from us.
Wow. So they've even been able to expand their business, get more employees, employ more suppliers, everything. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's going to add 10 to 20 employees in that one location. And, that's what the purpose is, to re-stimulate the economy the best way possible.
How about large businesses, something over 20 mil?
So what comes to mind is a construction framer who has 190 something employees, a little under 200, I remember. And it was and still is hugely impacted because supply chain is so bad in lumber. And if you remember lumber prices, every hour, it was like it was going up a couple cents, it was nuts. Right. So he went from, he made bids to 4 months later, he's getting the lumber and he's telling the customer, hey, oh no, we already budgeted all that. I'm not paying that increased price. And so he had toe-to-toe customers that he had lost. And he was still, he told me for about 6 or 8 months, he was breaking even every month on his business with 195 employees. You think he'd be living large. No. Right. He was breaking even, if not losing money every month. This ended up getting him close to about $2.2 million. And, that made a huge impact because I was able to, go back on stuff that he was suffering in 2020 and 21.
And restore some of those margins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, good.
Those are really fun stories. I mean, like on our website, you can go to the About page and hit testimonials and watch maybe 10 to 15 different video testimonials of people actually receiving their checks, not people that we just filed for. We wanted to wait until people got their checks because the crappy part of this program is the IRS does take 6 to 8 months to send out the money,
right?
And so we can't control that. And so being that this program's been around a year, people have been receiving their checks for the last, 4 or 5 months.
Right. Yeah, but if good things come to those who wait, right? If they just
exactly
put a little patience in, wow, what can you say? It's amazing.
Yeah, and that's why we made it where you don't pay anything up front and you pay 15% of the credit when you get the money. So, there's no cost to do any of that.
No cost, nothing to lose. Everything to gain. Wow. Josh, awesome, man.